Are you getting in your own way? Do you feel you're just breaking momentum, sabotaging your progress? Maybe you feel like just when you're about to actually make some changes in your life, and maybe you can start to see it, but something takes over. Something you feel out of your control in some way comes in, ruins it, and now leaves you in the exact same place as you were before. And you're trying to wonder what's going on, what's happening, what is this, how do I change this? And I totally can relate to it. I can understand that frustration as I've dealt with self sabotage myself. And so today, I'm going to go over some of the reasons as to why this could be happening. And then after, I'm going to go into the solutions for you to help you break out of that cycle. For those that are my returning viewers, welcome back. I'm always happy to have you here. And it brings me such great joy to know that you're part of this community and part of this mission. And if I can ask for a favor, if you've been watching these videos for quite some time and you're resonating with it and you connect to it deeply, subscribe to the channel, comment, share, like the video. It really helps in that initial phase of a small channel to get that lift, get that altitude, to leave that sort of small channel zone. And so I'd be really appreciative if you can help with that. And if you're a new viewer to the channel, welcome. My name is Estevan, and I help guide and mentor individuals into rediscovering who they truly are, building awareness of the stories that have been controlling their lives, peeling back the narrative, and seeing who you really are behind all that. This way you can really build from a place of purpose, mission, meaning, and authentic living. I got my notepad with me, so I hope you have yours, and let's get right into it. So first, we have to sort of distinguish a little bit between self-sabotage and just the general hurdles of life when it comes to progressing towards something. So if you're moving towards a mission, a goal that you have, or a life that you wish to live, and you run into setbacks, things don't go as planned, maybe you fail a couple times, you trip, that is not a signal of self-sabotaging. The signal of self-sabotaging is you're intentional of ruining the momentum, stopping it, interrupting it. It's an active effort that you're going for versus you are just in the motion of trying to build a skill, build a life for yourself, build meaning. And just along the way, there's setbacks. A total difference. We want to make sure we distinguish because we don't want to self-impose a narrative when it's not really the case. Moving on now, let's get into it. Let's get into 4 scenarios as to why this is happening, why this could be happening for you. Starting off with number 1. You're taking too big a step. You're trying to, in other words, bite off more than you can chew. And this is something I can relate to when I first opened my business. So I was a competitor for a long time, wanted to pursue that, be a world champion. I was chasing it from a place of inferiority. I wanted to prove myself and show others that I'm capable of love and admiration. And that narrative, that story, the complex took over, made me pursue something. I got very good at it, but of course, that fuel's going to run out at some point. And so then eventually I had to make money for ourselves because I have a wife and I have a daughter now, and so we need to make a living. So I opened a business. And of course, naturally, what I wanted was to get everything right here, right now, instantly. And when you do that, when you try to hurry up the progress, you're not going to be making the correct decision right here, right now. You're going to make decisions from a place of like anticipation, and I need it, and concern, and worry, and paranoia. And of course, any decision you make from that state is not going to really line up in the way you want. And it's going to rather put you in a place of blunder and confusion and feelings of regression. That's the first thing. Number 2 is pretty much similar to the first one, where you're too outcome focused. For me, this hits home for me more personally. When you are in a bad situation in your life, when you're not happy where you are, maybe you're not in the relationship you want, or you don't have the job, the career that you want, or the lifestyle that you're looking for, or perhaps you're not in the mental state that you wish to be in, that can cause you to want to speed up the process. You want to just get it right here, right now. That's what happens when you fixate too much on outcome. It's going to create a paranoia. It's going to create stress. Like I said, it's very similar to the first one. Very minor differences, though. Creates stress, paranoia, like I said, anxiety, and it's going to affect every decision you make. Imagine it like a filter in front of your eyes. When you provide a different filter, let's say the filter of outcome-oriented thinking, then everything you see around you is going to get warped. Everything will change. Everything will be interpreted from that lens. Moving on to the next one, number 3. There's a narrative controlling you. And the narrative can be you are feeling undeserving of this success, of this growth. You feel that to some level that you're not worthy of it. And that it should just be given to somebody else. Anyone else but me. And this narrative, I'll get into deeper into the solutions, but just to kind of start a little bit into it, these narratives and these stories are found within complexes. Complexes are emotional knots that contain stories and memories and emotion that get charged within you. And these complexes create narratives. They create stories. And if ignored, and if even unaware that they're there, they can hijack your conscious awareness. They just come in, and often I always use this example is you'll have moments where you'll snap into something, you'll snap out, and you'll go, oh, I don't know what came over me there. I was just in a rut. I kind of went red. That's more of a symbolism of anger, but you kind of get what I'm saying. And then this also ties in with number 4. You are feeling, in a way, comfortable with this dark place that you're in. It's essentially a way for your spirit, your soul, to manage the circumstance. So if the circumstance is bad enough, you have to find some form of comfort within that level of darkness. And I know exactly what that one feels like. When you are in a sad state, oftentimes, you could eventually build a taste for it. And it can in some way be soothing. But it's not at all in your best interest for the long term. It's not. There are better places to be in. There are better states to be in. And if that is you, it's very aware that we start to really build that awareness around if it is really something that we are becoming comfortable in. We find some level of pleasure in this darkness. And that can really hold you back, because as you start to make progress, it's going to feel that you're jumping out of a frame that you've been in. And when you jump out of a frame, it's almost as if you're in the abyss. Or I say in no man's land. The state between identity 1 and the identity you want to become. When you're in that center, it's terrible. It's chaos and confusing, and all you want to do is get back to what you know, even if what you know is not in your best interest. And now the ultimate question is, well, what is the solution? What do we do with this? Well, the first of 3 steps. Step number 1, you have to understand what loop pattern you're in. What are loop patterns? Loop patterns are essentially thoughts and images that tie together, thoughts, images, and emotions that tie together into a story. So, for example, let's say growing up, you've always been shunned or neglected if you didn't perform well in school, or you didn't perform well in a sporting activity that you were doing, soccer, football, etc. And that left a particular impression on you. That left an impression that said, if I don't perform well, I don't get admiration. And so then what that means is you dump particular things into the shadow. And what are those? Well, the feelings that want you to feel vulnerable, the feelings that want you to feel validated and accepted regardless of how you perform, those things have to be shunned away. Sensitive emotions have to be shunned away. And so you focus primarily in the warrior, the maiden archetype. That force of energy that says focus strictly on one way of thinking. And so what does that mean? So what that means is, let's say you're in a situation where you can feel almost like you're going to be jeopardized. Maybe not, it may not even be true, but something signals to you that you could fail. And so what happens? You can feel emotion. Emotions of panic and worry and concern and fear. That fear can translate into dialogue. What if I fail this? What if I lose this? What if everything I have built goes away? It may be words, it may be images. You picture what it's like if you failed. The abandonment, the neglect, the rejection. And when you package all that together, that then forms the narrative and the story. I must be successful in order to be loved. You may not label it that way, you may not say that, but that's the story you're playing out. And we want to understand what is the loop that we're caught in that is leading to self-sabotage. What's the first trigger point? Maybe emotion, it may be thought, or it may be images in your mind. It's different for everybody. From my experience, I've noticed the longer we haven't acknowledged this, eventually becomes regressed. And when something is regressed, it really just manifests itself in emotion. You don't really ever think it. You can probably picture it, but it's more of an emotional state. You'll feel the emotional experience. Oftentimes, you're not able to pinpoint where that's coming from. And so that's all another signal as well. I don't know where this is coming from. I don't know why I'm feeling fearful right now. And that's something to pay attention to. What are the patterns? So you want to have a journal. I literally have, this is my work journal. I have my own private journal right here. Nice and pretty. That's more of a sacred journal, which I recommend you have. This is where all the thoughts that you have, whether they're positive, dark, that's where all of them should go. But this is just my work journal. But have yourself one that you can actually start to write this out and start to see and connect the dots a little bit. Because believe it or not, that is a huge step. It's not the ultimate step. It's not going to cure everything right off the bat, but it's miles ahead. Because simply knowing what's going on behind the curtains is going to actually give you that level of control back into your life. And writing it down is one of the best ways to do it. Number 2, we want to, once we identify the loop pattern, once we identify the cycles of thinking and images and emotions, we use the emotion to trail ourselves down to the narrative and to the story we live by. And how do we do that? Well, one way you can is think back, close your eyes, think back to the earliest memory that you believe this may not began, but what's the earliest memory of this cycle? You may never find its genesis, but you can get close enough. And so you imagine it. Who was there? Who was there? Where were you? How old were you? What were you doing? Be as vivid and grounded as possible. Because perhaps it was related to your father. Perhaps it was related to a school teacher that you admired deeply, that took a father figure role or a mother figure role and influenced your thinking, influenced your behavior. You wanted to win their admiration. Perhaps you were craving that. You were lacking it, so you're craving it. And that was your way of receiving it. And so by following the emotion, because it's the emotion that you can trail down. The emotion is the rope that ties deeper into your unconscious. And that's when you can find the complex. It could be any form of complex. It could be the mother complex, the father complex. It could be anything. And once you find the story, that's the next layer of healing. When you can understand what's been driving everything. Because the story drives your life. The narrative, in a sense, dictates your destiny. But it doesn't have to. It doesn't have to forever. Because going into step number 3, now we get into the replacing. We now need to, once we understand the loop pattern, and therefore have dug down and done a lot of deep reflection and shadow work to understand now where the story comes from, we can then move forward and reinterpret and change their narrative. The way you can change narrative is by simply replacing the loop pattern with the one that you have, changing it with a new one. Now, it's a whole topic to discuss, but to put it simply, number one, you want to be, first, you have to have the desire. You need to want to change it. Nothing will change unless you have that deep inner self calling forward and saying, we need to do something different. I don't want to do this pattern anymore. And you're feeling that excitement. You're feeling this courage again. And you'll find the courage when you can know the story. Because once you see the lay of the land, all of a sudden you got your control back. And with control, you can make change. And replacing it starts with first, interrupting the loop pattern. So if we simplify and say, let's say there's 3 stages. First, emotions come up. And then emotions lead to thoughts. The thoughts can lead to images. And therefore, all those, when you start to go into a repeated loop over and over and over again, puts you in a story, puts you back in that narrative, puts you in fight, flight, or freeze response. And what we want to do then is interrupt it when it first comes up. Either by deep breathing, focusing on grounding somatic exercises of deep inhales and slow exhales, focusing on what you hear, what you feel, what you see, grounding yourself in the moment as much as possible. Or you can do verbal interrupts. When you start to feel a thought or an image come up, you can verbally say, stop, I don't want to go there. We don't want to go there right now. There's a difference between suppression and actually not wanting to begin the pattern. Suppression is you feel something that you need to contend with and you don't want to look at it. But that's what the stage 1 and 2 was for. Stage 1 and 2 was contending with it. You're dealing with it. You're sitting with the emotion. You acknowledge it as a part of you. It's something you experience and you see, and it's a part of your life, but it's not something you have to continue doing. And so once that decision happens, then when the thoughts come up, you can interrupt it. And so verbal interrupt, somatic work to stop it. Because as long as you begin the exercise of stopping it at, let's say, stage 1 of just emotion, then you can observe the emotion, let it pass through you, and everything will become a little bit lighter. And that muscle will get stronger. But I will tell you right now, the first hit will be the hardest thing you ever do because it's something perhaps you've never done. And so it will be challenging. And so it's key. Do not get discouraged. Do not feel down. Do not let that put you back into the state of saying, well, you see, this is why I've always been where I am. We don't want to get into that. So as much as possible, put your whole soul into it at first. But when you get over that hump, it will get easier and easier and easier. Once that muscle gets stronger, you can then simultaneously bring in a new pattern of thinking. That I'm no longer the self-sabotager because I want to make something different in my life. And the story that once controlled me had its purpose. It served you its purpose. But it's time to reinterpret. It's time to let go of certain aspects of it and integrate it into your life as something that you've had. And it's just a part of you. And it's not, and it wasn't pretty. It doesn't have to be pretty. You don't have to fluff it up. You don't have to make it glow. You don't. It can be what it is. And you can bring it along with you on that new journey and reestablishing new patterns. So when you start to make some progress, you heavily concentrate on that. And you reward yourself for the efforts. Whether you win or lose, it's the process of becoming that you admire in yourself. The fact that you are becoming, the very fact that you are able to slowly break out of that narrative, that is the bigger picture. Not the outcome of money or fame or career, as much as those things are very important, absolutely. But if you can stay concentrated on the becoming process and rewarding yourself for it, and then bring the emotion into it, the emotions of joy and happiness and purpose and meaning and excitement, then you can channel into new thoughts, new images, and then begin a momentum going upward. And as you continue that process and exercise that muscle, it will get stronger. You will absolutely get stronger. Use this practice. It's done wonders for me. And it's also done wonders for the individuals that I work with in my guidance sessions. And of course, if you want to be a part of my community in a deeper way, I got links down below for either my newsletter, my free guide, or you can obviously book a call with me. Pick whichever one that best fits you in your current life and your current time right now. Otherwise, you guys can go ahead and just click here or here to continue watching my videos. And as always, thank you very much, and I'll see you on the next video.